The desert air was thick with heat, the kind that clung to the skin like a second layer. Jack wiped the sweat from his brow, adjusting the strap of his backpack as he approached the restricted site. The Great Pyramid loomed ahead, its ancient stones glowing amber under the relentless Egyptian sun. He shouldn't have been here. The permit in his pocket was a forgery, one he'd paid a small fortune for, but it was enough to get him past the guards. He had spent years chasing leads, poring over obscure research papers, and interviewing fringe archaeologists who whispered about anomalies beneath the pyramids. Most dismissed them as crackpots, but Jack had always trusted his gut. And his gut told him there was something beneath the stone. A lone security officer stood at the entrance of the restricted tunnel, his bored expression barely shifting as Jack flashed the fake credentials. The man gave a half-hearted nod, and Jack slipped inside before hesitation could catch up with him. The passage was narrow, the walls rough-hewn and cool against his fingertips. His headlamp cut through the darkness, revealing hieroglyphs that had been untouched for millennia. But it wasn't the ancient carvings that made his pulse quicken. It was the hum. A low, persistent vibration thrummed through the stone, subtle but unmistakable. It wasn't the wind. It wasn't his imagination. It was machinery. Jack followed the sound deeper, his breath shallow. The tunnel sloped downward, twisting in ways that defied the pyramid's official blueprints. After what felt like an hour, the passage opened into a cavernous chamber. His light flickered. For a moment the beam dimmed, as if something had interfered with it. Then it steadied, illuminating the impossible. The walls were lined with copper veins snaking in intricate patterns like circuitry. At the center of the chamber stood a massive crystalline structure, pulsing with a faint blue glow. Wires, modern wires, ran from its base into the stone, connecting to panels that looked like they belonged in a power plant, not a 4,000-year-old tomb. Jack's hands shook as he pulled out his camera. He recorded every angle, zooming in on the crystalline core, the copper conduits, the sleek control panels hidden in shadow. His notes spilled onto his voice recorder in a rushed, breathless monologue. This isn't just a tomb, it's a generator. An entire power source, buried under the pyramid. And it's still active. The implications hit him like a physical blow. Free energy, clean, limitless electricity hidden from the world. But why? His camera glitched again, the screen distorting for a split second. Then, beneath the hum of the machine he heard it, a whisper of movement. Jack froze. The chamber was empty, but the air prickled with the weight of unseen eyes. His skin crawled. He packed his gear in a rush, his instincts screaming at him to leave. As he turned back toward the tunnel, a shadow shifted at the edge of his vision. No one was there, but the feeling didn't fade. Heart-pounding, Jack retraced his steps, moving faster now. The hum of the pyramid's core seemed to follow him, a mechanical heartbeat echoing in his skull. By the time he reached the surface, the sun had dipped low, casting long shadows across the sand. The security guard was gone. The site was eerily still. Jack didn't look back as he hurried to his rented Jeep. He had the story of a lifetime. And someone somewhere already knew he'd found it. The desert highway stretched endlessly ahead, a ribbon of cracked asphalt under the bruised purple twilight. Jack's hands gripped the steering wheel too tightly, his knuckles pale. The adrenaline from his discovery hadn't faded. If anything, it had sharpened into something jagged, gnawing at the edges of his focus. He glanced at the camera bag on the passenger seat. The footage inside was worth more than his life now. He knew it. The Jeep's headlights cut through the growing darkness, illuminating the occasional road sign. Cairo, still 2 hours away. His hotel with safety was there, and with it, the chance to finally expose what he'd found. But the deeper he drove, the heavier the silence in the car became. Something's wrong. It wasn't just paranoia. The air itself felt charged, like the moment before a lightning strike. His skin prickled. His breath came too fast. You're just tired. You're imagining things, but he wasn't. He reached for his phone, fingers trembling as he scrolled to the only contact he trusted with this. His best friend, Daniel Reyes. The guy who had spent college ranting about a government cover-ups and suppressed technology while the rest of their friend group rolled their eyes. The guy who for once might actually believe him. The call connected after 2 rings. Jack. Daniel's voice was groggy. Dude, do you know what time it is? Jack checked the dashboard clock. 3:47 a.m. Daniel was in New York. That meant 9:47 p.m. for you, Jack said, forcing a laugh. Not that late. For you maybe. Some of us have jobs that don't involve crawling through ancient murder holes. A pause. Wait, why are you calling? You only call when. I found it. The words tumbled out before Jack could stop them. The thing you've been saying for years. The real purpose of the pyramids. It's not a tomb, Daniel, it's a power plant. A silence. Then slowly. You're serious. Dead serious. Jack's throat was dry. I have footage, schematics, the whole thing's wired into modern infrastructure, some kind of energy transfer system. It's still running, Dan. And it's huge. Another pause. Daniel's voice dropped low. Jack, where are you right now? Driving back to Cairo, just left Giza. And you're sure no one saw you? Jack's stomach twisted. That feeling of being watched hadn't left him. I don't know. Maybe. Daniel's tone sharpened. Jack, if what you're saying is true, you just walked into the most heavily guarded secret on the planet. You think they let people just stumble onto that? A flicker in the rearview mirror. Jack's breath hitched. A pair of headlights, far back but steady. Too steady. Jack, there's a car behind me, Jack muttered. What? It's been there for the last 10 miles. Okay. Daniel's voice shifted, alert now. Desert highway, right? Only one road. But change lanes. Slowly. See if they follow. Jack eased the Jeep into the left lane. The headlights stayed distant. Then after a beat they shifted too. His pulse spiked. They mirrored me. Shit. A keyboard clacked on Daniel's end. Okay. Don't panic. Could still be coincidence. How far to the nearest town? Jack scanned the road signs. Next exit's in 5 miles. Take it. If they follow you off the highway, then you know. Jack's mouth was bone dry. He kept his eyes locked on the mirror. The headlights maintained their distance unwavering. 5 minutes passed. The exit approached. He signaled. The SUV behind him didn't. Really staying on the... Then, at the last second, the black SUV swerved, tires kicking up dust as it took the exit behind him. Oh God, they're following me. Bah fuck. Daniel's chair creaked as he stood. Okay, new prive, fast. Don't stop until you hit the city. Jack slammed the gas. The Jeep's engine roared, the speedometer climbing 70, 80, 90. The SUV matched him effortlessly. They're keeping pace. Jack hissed. What's the make plate? Black SUV, tinted windows. No plates. Of course there's no plates. Daniel let out a shaky breath. Listen to me, you can't lead them to your hotel. If they don't already know where you're staying, they will if you go there. Ah. Jack's mind raced. What do I do? Lose them first. Then ditch the car, get a cab, then go to the hotel. The SUV was closer now. Close enough that Jack could see the silhouette of the driver. Broad-shouldered face obscured by the tinted glass. His hands were slick with sweat. The road ahead was empty, no other cars, no witnesses. If they wanted to run him off the road, now was the time. Then, a fork in the highway. The left led deeper into the desert. The right curved toward Cairo's outskirts. Jack jerked the wheel right. The SUV didn't follow. It kept straight, vanishing into the darkness. Jack didn't slow down. They're gone, he breathed. Bullshit. Daniel's voice was tense. He didn't just give up. Maybe they weren't after me. Maybe it was. Jack, no one drives a Blasu with no plates for fun. Jack exhaled, shaky. The adrenaline was crashing now, leaving him lightheaded. Okay. I'll ditch the car. Get a cab. You're right, call me the second you're safe. I will. The line went dead. Jack drove. The hotel was a mid-tier chain near downtown Cairo, the kind of place that catered to journalists and academics. Anonymous enough to avoid attention, nice enough to have working Wi-Fi. Jack paid the cab driver in cash, then shouldered his bags and hurried inside. The lobby was empty except for the night clerk, who barely glanced up as Jack passed. His room was on the 4th floor. He locked the door behind him, then wedged a chair under the handle. Paranoid. You're being paranoid. But paranoia kept people alive. He dumped his gear onto the bed and pulled out his laptop. The footage from the pyramid was intact. He transferred it quickly, then backed it up to an encrypted cloud drive. One Daniel had set up for him years ago, joking that Conde, you'll thank me. But today was that day. He opened a blank document and started typing. T perimeters gurunivar tumbies. Ter pelalapolies. Ada war dawasnupi positio knou. His fingers flew across the keys. The words poured out of him, every detail, every observation. The crystalline core, the copper wiring, the way the hum had resonated in his bones. This was it. The story that would change everything. He attached the footage, drafted the email to his editor. His finger hovered over the send button. One deep breath, then a sharp sting in his neck. Jack gasped. His hand flew up, fingers brushing against something small and metallic, embedded in his skin. His vision blurred. The room tilted. His knees hit the carpet. The last thing he saw was a pair of black boots stepping into view. Then, darkness. The first thing Daniel noticed was the silence. 3 days. 3 full days without a single text, call, or email from Jack. That wasn't just unusual. It was impossible. Jack Mercer didn't ghost people. Not when he was on the verge of breaking the biggest story of his career. Daniel stared at his phone, thumb hovering over Jack's contact. He'd called 7 times since their last conversation. All straight to voicemail. Something's wrong. He opened his laptop and pulled up the encrypted cloud drive he'd set up for Jack. If a Jack had uploaded anything, it would be there. The folder wasn't empty. Daniel's breath caught as he clicked the video file. Grainy footage filled the screen. A cavernous underground chamber, bathed in an eerie blue glow. Copper veins snaked across ancient stone. A pulsing crystalline structure hummed at the center, and Jack's voice, hushed with a whack. This isn't just a tome, it's a generator. Daniel's pulse hammered in his throat. He was right. All these years he was right. But where the hell was Jack? Cairo, Egypt. 4 days earlier. Consciousness returned in jagged fragments. A sterile white room. The acrid tang of antiseptic cold metal against his wrists. Jack tried to move. His body refused. A voice calm and measured, cut through the fog. You're awake. A man in a black suit sat across him, fingers steepled. No insignia. No identification. Just sharp eyes and a smile that didn't reach them. Jack's tongue felt like lead. Phoo. You're a smart man, Mr. Mercer. That's the problem. The man leaned forward. Smart men ask questions. And some questions, well, they're better left buried. Jack's stomach dropped. They'd found his footage. His notes. The man slid a tablet across the table. On it a live feed of Daniel's apartment. His friend pacing, oblivious to the camera watching him. Your friend has your files. That's unfortunate. The man sighed. But not irreversible. Jack strained against the restraints. If you touch him. You'll what? The man chuckled. You won't even remember this conversation by tomorrow. A syringe glinted in the light. Darkness swallowed Jack whole. New York City, present day. Daniel's hands shook as he copied the files to a USB drive. He needed to move. Now, the camera in Jack's footage, the one inside the pyramid, had glitched at the exact same moment his phone had cut out during their call. That wasn't a coincidence. It was interference. Deliberate interference. And if they'd silenced Jack, his screen flickered. Daniel froze. A pop-up appeared. Connection interrupted. Data corruption detected. The files were dissolving, pixel by pixel. No. He yanked the USB free. The screen went black. Across the street, a black SUV pulled to a stop. Daniel ran. Epilogue: The truth never dies. The article went live at midnight. No byline, no publisher. Just a shadowy forum post spreading like wildfire. The pyramids are power plants. They've been lying to us for centuries. Attached schematics, coordinates, proof. By morning, the post was gone. But the files, those were already in the wild. And somewhere, in a white room with no windows, Jack smiled.
It takes a lot of time to create these videos. I would really appreciate your support. All I ask for is a quick like on the video and subscribe. Thank you so much.